The kitchen faucet had been dripping for 3 weeks. I'd mentioned it twice, once while Emily was scrolling through her phone at breakfast, once while she was getting ready for book club. Both times she'd made that soft humming noise that meant she'd heard me but wasn't actually listening, the kind of sound you make when someone's talking but you're already thinking about something else. I'm a facilities manager for a mid-sized commercial property group, 18 buildings across the metro area, everything from medical offices to light industrial. My job is noticing what's wrong before it becomes expensive, a slow leak in a supply line, an HVAC system pulling too many amps, the way a tenant's story about why they're 3 months behind doesn't match their parking lot traffic. Patterns. I live in patterns. So when Emily started coming home 20 minutes later than usual on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I noticed. When she started doing her makeup before going to the gym instead of after, I noticed. When she bought new workout clothes, the expensive kind, not the clearance rack stuff she usually preferred, I noticed that too. None of it proved anything. That's what I told myself for about 6 weeks. We'd been married 11 years, met at a friend's wedding, dated for 2 years, got married in a ceremony that cost more than my truck. Emily worked in pharmaceutical sales, made decent money, had that easy charm that made people want to say yes to her. She could walk into a doctor's office and walk out with a lunch meeting and a provisional agreement to consider switching suppliers. I'd always admired that about her, the way she could read a room, adjust her approach, make people feel like they were the only person who mattered. It was a Tuesday when I noticed her phone habits had changed. We were watching something on Netflix, some show she'd picked. I wasn't really paying attention, and her phone buzzed on the coffee table. She used to just glance at it, maybe respond later. Now she picked it up immediately, turned slightly away, typed something, set it back down face down. "Work?" I asked. "Just Sarah from the gym," she said. "She wants to try that new spin class tomorrow." Sarah from the gym. I'd heard that name a lot recently. Sarah wanted to grab coffee. Sarah recommended a new protein shake. Sarah thought we should try couples yoga. I'd never met Sarah. "You should go," I said. "Sounds fun." Emily smiled, squeezed my hand, went back to the show. I went back to watching patterns. Thursday evening, I got home early. One of my properties had a minor electrical issue that turned out to be a tripped breaker, 20-minute fix instead of the 2 hours I'd blocked out. I pulled into our driveway at 5:47 p.m. Emily's car wasn't there yet. She usually got home around 5:30 on Thursdays. I went inside, changed out of my work clothes, started looking through the mail, catalogs, credit card offers, a notice from our HOA about lawn maintenance standards. I separated everything into piles on the kitchen counter, listening to the faucet drip into the sink basin. Drip, 5 seconds. Drip, 5 seconds. Drip, consistent pattern, predictable. Emily's car pulled in at 6:12 p.m. I was sitting on the couch when she came through the door, yoga mat bag over her shoulder, hair pulled back in a ponytail. She had that post-workout glow, slightly flushed, breathing a little harder than normal. "Hey," she said, dropping her bag by the door. "Good day?" "Not bad. Fixed a breaker issue out at the Riverside complex. Yours?" "Long." She headed toward the bedroom. "I need a shower. Did you eat?" "Not yet. I was thinking maybe we could order something." "Sure, whatever you want." She disappeared into the bedroom. I heard the shower start running a minute later. I walked over to her gym bag, unzipped the outside pocket, found her membership card, swiped my phone to check her gym's website. They had a feature that showed class schedules and capacity. The Thursday evening spin class she supposedly went to had been canceled 3 weeks ago for facility maintenance. Still showed as canceled on the schedule. I put the card back exactly where I'd found it. The shower kept running. I sat back down on the couch and thought about patterns. About the way Emily's Tuesday and Thursday late arrivals had started exactly 7 weeks ago. About the way she'd suddenly developed an interest in fitness classes she'd never cared about before. About the way her phone was now always face down, always password protected, always within arm's reach. About the way she looked at me lately, like I was furniture she'd grown used to, comfortable but unremarkable. I thought about confronting her right then, walking into that bathroom, asking direct questions, demanding direct answers. But I'm not an impulsive person. I solve problems by gathering information, understanding systems, identifying points of failure. So I waited. Friday morning, Emily left for work at her normal time, 7:15 a.m., coffee thermos in hand, laptop bag over her shoulder. I left 15 minutes later, drove my normal route to the office, checked in with my maintenance supervisor about a roof inspection scheduled for the following week, reviewed some vendor bids for parking lot resurfacing, responded to 14 emails. At 10:30 a.m., I drove out to one of my properties. a 3-story medical building that shared a parking lot with a chain restaurant and a fitness center, not Emily's gym. A different one, across town from where we lived. I parked in the back row where I had a clear view of the building entrances. Waited. At 11:47 a.m., Emily's silver Accord pulled into the parking lot. She parked near the fitness center entrance, checked her phone, got out. She was wearing business casual, slacks, a blouse, heels, not workout clothes. She walked toward the fitness center but didn't go inside. Instead, she waited near the entrance, checking her phone again. At 11:53 a.m., a black Audi pulled into the lot. Newer model, expensive. The driver parked 2 spaces away from Emily's car. A man got out. Tall, probably early 40s, wearing business casual that looked more expensive than mine. He had that confident posture, the kind that comes from never having questioned his place in a room. Emily smiled when she saw him. Not her professional smile. Something different. Something I hadn't seen directed at me in a while. They talked for maybe 30 seconds. Then they both got into his Audi. The Audi pulled out of the parking lot, headed east. I didn't follow them. Didn't need to. I'd seen enough. I sat in my truck for another 10 minutes, watching people come and go from the medical building. A mother with 2 small children, an elderly man using a walker, a delivery driver with a hand truck full of packages. Normal people doing normal things on a normal Friday morning. My phone buzzed. Text from Emily. Lunch meeting ran long. Probably won't be back in the office until 2. Hope your day is going well. I didn't respond right away. Just looked at those words on the screen. The casual lie, delivered with the same easy confidence she probably used with doctors who were hesitant about switching suppliers. I wondered how long she'd been practicing. Finally, I typed back, "No problem. See you tonight?" Added a heart emoji. She liked those. She responded immediately. Heart emoji back, plus love you. I put my phone away and drove back to my office. That weekend was normal. Saturday, we did errands together. Grocery store, Target, picked up dry cleaning. Emily chatted about work, about her friend Sarah's upcoming birthday, about whether we should repaint the living room. I nodded, made appropriate comments, helped carry bags from the car. Sunday, we had brunch with her parents. Her father talked about his golf game. Her mother showed us pictures from their recent cruise. Emily held my hand under the table, laughed at her dad's jokes, asked if we wanted to stay for dinner. We stayed. It was all very normal, very comfortable, very predictable. That night, lying in bed next to her, I listened to her breathing even out as she fell asleep. I thought about the black Audi, about the way Emily had smiled when she saw that man, about the fitness classes that didn't exist and the lunch meetings that ran long. I thought about 11 years of marriage. And I thought about what happens when you understand a system well enough to know exactly where it's going to break. The faucet kept dripping in the kitchen. Steady, consistent, predictable. I was going to fix that soon, but not yet. First, I needed more information. Tuesday morning started the same as every Tuesday for the past 2 months. Emily left for work at 7:15, same as always. Kissed me on the cheek, said she'd be home around 6, reminded me she had her evening workout class. With Sarah? I asked. Yeah, she's been really consistent lately. It's nice having a workout partner. That's great. Tell her I said hi. Emily paused at the door, gave me a slightly odd look. I will. Have a good day. I waited until her car turned the corner, then I called my assistant supervisor, Danny. Told him I needed to work from home today, would be checking emails but available if anything urgent came up. Danny's been with me for 6 years. He could handle the routine stuff without supervision. Then I settled in to wait. I'd spent the previous 3 days doing research. Not dramatic, nothing illegal, just the kind of systematic information gathering that's second nature when you've spent 15 years managing properties and dealing with vendors who aren't always forthcoming about their capabilities. The black Audi belonged to a man named Trevor Hastings. Took me about 20 minutes of casual license plate observation and a basic public records search. He was a regional director for a medical equipment supply company, 42 years old, married, 2 kids, in elementary school. Lived in a development about 4 miles from our house, one of those neighborhoods with stone entrances and unnecessary water features. His company did business with several of the same medical practices Emily called on. That's probably how they met. I'd also confirmed that Emily's gym had indeed canceled their Thursday evening classes 3 weeks ago for ongoing renovation work. The front desk attendant had been very helpful when I called, pretending to be interested in membership options. So Emily wasn't going to the gym on Thursdays, and she wasn't meeting Trevor for lunch meetings. At 10:30 a.m., I drove to a different location, a shopping center about 2 miles from the fitness center parking lot where I'd seen them meet last Friday. There was a hotel there, mid-range business place, the kind with interior corridors and a breakfast buffing, the kind where the front desk doesn't ask questions if you're not causing problems. I parked where I could see the entrance. At 11:41 a.m., the black Audi pulled into the lot. Trevor got out first, scanned the parking lot, looking for familiar cars probably, then walked toward the entrance. He moved like someone who'd done this before, confident but cautious. 3 minutes later, Emily's Accord pulled in. She parked on the opposite side of the lot, away from his car. Also checked her surroundings before getting out. She'd changed clothes since leaving the house, now wearing a dress I'd never seen before, something fitted and darker than her usual professional wardrobe. She walked into the hotel. I sat there for 2 hours and 17 minutes. They came out separately. Trevor first, at 1:54 p.m., same confident walk, slightly loosened tie, got in his Audi and left. Emily emerged 6 minutes later. She'd changed back into her work clothes, or maybe she'd brought the dress with her and changed in the hotel. She spent a moment in her car, checking her appearance in the mirror, fixing her hair. Then she drove away, heading in the direction of her office. My phone buzzed. Text from Emily. Lunch meeting finally over. These doctors are so indecisive sometimes. How's your day going? I looked at that message for a long time, thought about responding with what I'd just witnessed, thought about driving to her office right then, walking in, making a scene, thought about a lot of things. Instead, I typed, busy but productive. See you tonight? She sent back a smiley face. I drove to a coffee shop, ordered something I didn't really want, sat in a corner booth, and made a list on my phone. Not a revenge list, not yet, just information, facts, timeline, patterns. 7 weeks of Tuesday and Thursday workout classes that didn't exist. At least 3 confirmed hotel meetings, probably more. Trevor Hastings, married, 2 kids, professional reputation to protect. Emily, pharmaceutical sales, built her career on relationships and trust. Both of them had something to lose beyond just their marriages. I finished my coffee, deleted the list from my phone, I'm not careless, and drove back home. That evening, Emily came through the door at 6:08 p.m., yoga mat bag over her shoulder, same post-workout appearance as always. How was class? I asked from the kitchen, where I was pretending to look through takeout menus. Good, exhausting. Sarah pushed us really hard today. She dropped her bag by the door. I'm going to shower. Did you decide on dinner? Thought maybe Thai? Perfect. Order the usual for me. She headed to the bedroom. I heard the shower start. I walked over to her gym bag, unzipped it. The yoga mat inside was still rolled tight, bone dry, smelling faintly of the fabric freshener we kept in the linen closet. It had never been to a gym. I zipped the bag back up, ordered Thai food, ate dinner with my wife, talking about our days, discussing weekend plans, debating whether we should replace our aging washing machine or wait another year. It was all very normal. Wednesday, I went to work, dealt with a plumbing issue at one of my office buildings, met with a contractor about roof repairs, reviewed maintenance schedules. Normal day. Thursday morning, I told Danny I needed another work-from-home day. He didn't ask questions. Emily left at her usual time, kissed me goodbye, said she'd see me that evening after her workout class. I gave her a head start, then followed at a distance. She didn't go to her office. Drove straight to the shopping center with the hotel, parked in the same general area as Tuesday. Checked her phone, waited. The black Audi arrived at 11:39 a.m. Same pattern. Trevor went in first, Emily 3 minutes later. I didn't stay this time. I'd confirmed what I needed to confirm. Instead, I drove to Trevor's neighborhood. Found his house, a McMansion with a 3-car garage, professional landscaping, a basketball hoop in the driveway. There was a minivan parked in front, one of those newer models with the automatic sliding doors. Someone was home. I kept driving, circled the block, came back around. This time I noticed the backyard had a swing set, fairly new. The kind of detail that meant the kids were young enough to still use it, old enough for their parents to invest in the expensive version. I took out my phone, composed a text message, didn't send it. Not yet. That evening, Emily came home at 6:15 p.m. Same routine, same yoga mat bag, same story about Sarah and the workout class. You know, I said while we were eating the pasta I'd made for dinner, I've been thinking we should have Sarah and her husband over sometime, since you two have gotten so close. Emily looked up from her plate. Something flickered across her face. Too fast to identify, but it was there. Oh, Sarah's not married. Recently single, actually. Kind of a rough breakup. That's too bad. Well, maybe just Sarah then. I'd like to meet her. Yeah, definitely. I'll ask her about her schedule. She went back to eating. I went back to observing. Friday afternoon, I was actually at one of my properties when my phone buzzed. Text from Emily. Just grabbing coffee with a friend. I looked at those words for exactly 5 seconds. Then I typed back, "Cool. Ask him if his wife liked the new photos." I watched the 3 dots appear, disappear, appear again. Then my phone started blowing up. What? What are you talking about? Who told you something? This isn't funny. Answer me. We need to talk. I can explain. It's not what you think. Please call me. I'm serious. We need to talk right now. Why aren't you answering? Answer me. 12 messages in under 3 minutes. I turned my phone to silent, put it face down on my desk, and went back to reviewing the electrical inspection report in front of me. When I finally looked at my phone again an hour later, there were 7 more messages and 4 missed calls. The last message read, "I'm coming home. We need to talk about this." I responded, "I'm at work. I'll be home around 6. 3 dots immediately. This can't wait. I didn't respond to that one. At 5:45 p.m., I drove home. Emily's car was already in the driveway. I could see her sitting in the driver's seat, phone pressed to her ear, looking agitated. I pulled in behind her, blocking her car. She ended her call immediately, got out, met me before I even reached the front door. "What did you mean?" Her voice was higher than normal. "What photos? Who have you been talking to?" I looked at her for a long moment. Really looked at her. At the woman I'd married 11 years ago, who was standing in our driveway demanding answers about an affair she thought I'd just discovered. "I haven't been talking to anyone," I said calmly. "I just wanted to see what you'd say." Her face went pale, then red, then pale again. That's manipulative." "Is it?" I unlocked the front door, walked inside. She followed, right on my heels. "You're twisting things, making me panic over nothing." "Emily." I turned to face her. "You texted me that you were grabbing coffee with a friend. I made a joke about asking him about photos. You immediately panicked and sent 12 messages trying to explain something I never actually accused you of." She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. I thought... You thought I'd found out about Trevor." Her face told me everything. "How long?" she whispered. "Does it matter? How long have you known?" I walked to the kitchen, poured myself a glass of water from the tap. The faucet still dripped when I turned it off, still needed fixing. "Long enough," I said. She stood in the doorway, hands shaking slightly. "I need to explain." "No, you don't. It wasn't supposed to be like this." "How was it supposed to be?" She didn't have an answer for that. I drank my water, set the glass in the sink, listened to it drip. "I'm going to stay at my sister's tonight," Emily finally said. "We can talk about this when we've both calmed down." "Sure," I said. "Take your time." She stared at me like she'd never seen me before. Maybe she hadn't. "You're not even angry," she said. I met her eyes. "I'm furious. I'm just not interested in screaming about it." She grabbed her purse, her phone, walked toward the bedroom to pack a bag. I stayed in the kitchen, listening to drawers open and close, listening to her move through our house, collecting pieces of her life. She left 20 minutes later without saying goodbye. I sat on the couch in the silent house and thought about patterns, about how people reveal themselves when they panic, about how Emily had just confirmed everything I'd suspected without me having to show a single piece of actual evidence, about how she still thought this was a conversation about our marriage falling apart. She didn't understand yet. This wasn't about the marriage. This was about making sure everyone involved understood exactly what they'd broken. I pulled out my phone, opened a browser, started researching. Not marriage counselors, not divorce attorneys, something else. The faucet kept dripping in the kitchen. I'd fix that this weekend. Emily stayed at her sister's house for 4 days. She texted me twice, once to ask if I wanted to talk things through, once to say she needed more time to process everything. I responded to both with variations of, "Take the time you need." I wasn't in a hurry. The house felt different without her. Quieter, but not in a bad way. More like the difference between white noise and silence. You don't realize how much background static there was until it stops. I spent Saturday fixing the kitchen faucet. 45-minute job, new cartridge from the hardware store, problem solved. Then I cleaned out the garage, organized my tool bench, threw away 3 boxes of Emily's old pharmaceutical samples that had been sitting there for 2 years. Sunday, I drove past Trevor's house again. The minivan was gone, but there was a sedan in the driveway. Newer model Honda, probably his wife's daily driver. The basketball hoop had a ball sitting underneath it, like someone had been playing recently. Curtains were open on the first floor. I could see movement inside through the front window. Normal suburban Sunday. Normal family. I kept driving. Monday morning, I was back at work. Danny briefed me on the weekend. Minor HVAC issue at one property, resolved. Scheduled landscaping at two others, completed without problems. Everything running smooth. I spent most of the day in my office, door closed, working on something that had nothing to do with building maintenance. I was mapping out a timeline. Not for me, for them. Trevor Hastings had been with his medical equipment company for 6 years. Promoted to regional director 3 years ago. His territory overlapped with Emily's sales region. They probably met at a medical conference or a doctor's office waiting room. That first meeting would have been professional, appropriate. Maybe they discovered they called on some of the same practices. Maybe they grabbed coffee to discuss coordination, avoid stepping on each other's territories. Then somewhere, it shifted. Trevor was married to a woman named Jessica. I'd found her social media accounts easily enough, set to public, regular posts about her kids, her book club, her volunteer work with the elementary school PTA. She posted photos of family dinners, weekend trips, her husband at their son's soccer games. Recent photos showed Trevor smiling, arm around her, looking like the picture of suburban contentment. She had no idea. That was the thing about affairs. Someone always had no idea. Someone was always getting played while going about their normal life, trusting that the person sleeping next to them was who they said they were. I thought about calling Jessica, thought about sending her an anonymous message with everything I knew, thought about a lot of direct approaches, but direct approaches leave too much room for damage control. For explanations? For the cheating partners to get their stories straight, to minimize, to reframe everything as a misunderstanding or a momentary lapse. I didn't want them to have that chance. Tuesday evening, Emily texted asking if she could come by to pick up some more clothes. I told her I wouldn't be home until after 7. She was welcome to use her key. She showed up at 6:30. I watched from my truck parked down the street as she let herself in, came out 20 minutes later with 2 suitcases and a garment bag. She looked tired. Kept checking her phone while loading everything into her car. I waited until she left, then went inside. The house felt even quieter now. I made dinner, grilled chicken and vegetables, ate at the kitchen counter while reading through property management reports on my laptop. Normal evening, normal routine, except I was also creating a detailed dossier. Not just on Trevor and Emily, on everything connected to them. Trevor's company had a professional ethics policy. I found it on their website, standard corporate language about maintaining appropriate professional boundaries, avoiding conflicts of interest, conducting business with integrity. There was a specific section about relationships with clients and business partners in the medical sales field. Emily's company had similar policies. Both of them had signed those policies. Both of them understood that sleeping with someone in an overlapping professional network wasn't just an affair, it was a potential liability. I took screenshots, saved everything to an encrypted folder. Wednesday, I took a personal day. Told Danny I had some errands to handle, would be checking email but otherwise unavailable. Instead, I drove to the hotel where Emily and Trevor had been meeting. I parked, walked into the lobby like I belonged there. The front desk clerk, young guy, maybe early 20s, looked bored, barely glanced at me. "Excuse me," I said, approaching the desk with a friendly smile. I'm hoping you can help me with something. My company is thinking about using this hotel for some visiting clients, and I wanted to ask about your rates for extended stays." He perked up slightly. "Sure, I can get you our corporate information." "Great. Also, I noticed you have interior corridors. That's really important for our clients. Have you had any issues with security? We need to make sure our people feel safe." "No issues at all. We've got cameras in all the common areas, electronic keycards, the whole system." "Cameras? That's excellent. How long do you keep the footage?" "I think it's like 30 days, maybe 60. I'd have to check with my manager." "That's fine. And do your keycard records show when rooms are accessed?" He hesitated, suddenly less enthusiastic. "Why would you need to know that?" I kept my smile easy. "Just due diligence. We work with some high-profile clients who are particular about security protocols." "Yeah, we have all that, but I can't really give you specifics without talking to my manager. It's privacy policies and stuff." "Totally understand. Could I get your manager's contact information?" He wrote down a name and phone number. I thanked him, took the information, left. I had no intention of calling the manager. But now I knew the hotel kept records. 30 to 60 days of camera footage, electronic keycard access logs, the kind of documentation that would show a pattern of regular Tuesday and Thursday visits, same room numbers, same time blocks, the kind of documentation that could be subpoenaed in a divorce proceeding. Not that I was planning to use it that way. Thursday, I followed my usual routine. Checked in at my office, handled some vendor calls, reviewed a proposal for new security systems at one of my properties. Normal workday. Emily texted around lunchtime. I think we should talk. Can we meet somewhere? I waited 2 hours before responding. This weekend, Saturday morning, coffee shop on 5th Street, 10 a.m. She agreed immediately. I spent Thursday evening researching one more thing. Trevor's wife's daily routine. Jessica Hastings posted about her life frequently enough that it wasn't hard to piece together. She taught part-time at the elementary school, music class, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. She had a standing book club meeting every other Wednesday evening. She volunteered at the school library on Friday afternoons. Her husband's affair was happening while she was teaching children how to play recorder and reading picture books to second graders. I sat with that for a while, thought about whether she deserved to know, whether telling her would be revenge or mercy, whether it mattered. Friday evening, I got a text from an unknown number. This is Trevor. We need to talk. Call me. I stared at that message for a full minute, then I blocked the number. Whatever he wanted to say, I wasn't interested in hearing it. Not yet. Saturday morning, I arrived at the coffee shop 15 minutes early. Ordered a black coffee, sat at a table near the window where I could see the parking lot. Emily pulled in at exactly 10 a.m. She sat in her car for a moment, checking her appearance in the mirror, gathering herself. When she walked in, she looked smaller somehow, less certain. She ordered something complicated, a latte with extra foam and caramel, and joined me at the table. Thanks for meeting me, she said. I nodded, didn't say anything. She took a breath. I've been thinking a lot about everything. About us. About what I want. Okay. I made a mistake. I know that. But I think maybe we'd grown apart, and I didn't know how to deal with that. I sipped my coffee, still didn't speak. Are you going to say anything? She asked. I'm listening. She frowned, like she'd expected something different. Anger, maybe. Hurt. The kind of emotional reaction that would let her reframe this as mutual failure instead of her choice. I want to try to fix this, she said. If you're willing, I'll end things with him. We can go to counseling, start over. Why? What do you mean, why? Because we're married. Because we built a life together. No, I said. Why do you want to fix it? Because you love me or because you got caught? She looked down at her coffee. That's not fair. It's a simple question. It's both. It's complicated. I leaned back in my chair. How long were you planning to keep it going? I don't know. I wasn't thinking. 7 weeks. That's how long you've been meeting him at the hotel? Tuesday and Thursday afternoons, sometimes Friday mornings, always between 11:30 and 2 p.m., always the same hotel? Her face went white. How? I'm good at patterns, Emily. It's literally my job. She looked like she might be sick. You've been following me? I've been paying attention. There's a difference. She stood up abruptly. I can't do this right now. Then don't. What does that mean? I met her eyes. It means you asked for this meeting. You said you wanted to talk. I'm here. I'm listening. But I'm not going to make this easier for you by getting angry or yelling or giving you someone to blame besides yourself. She grabbed her coffee, hands shaking. I need time. You've had time. You've had 7 weeks while you were lying to me every Tuesday and Thursday. Stop saying that. Why? It's true. She walked out. I sat there for another 20 minutes, finishing my coffee, watching people come and go from the coffee shop. Couples, families, solo customers getting their weekend started, normal people doing normal things. I'd given Emily a chance to be honest, to take responsibility, to acknowledge what she'd done without deflection or excuses. She couldn't do it. That told me everything I needed to know. I drove home, spent the afternoon doing yard work, mowed the lawn, trimmed the hedges, pulled weeds from the flower beds Emily had planted 3 years ago and stopped maintaining 2 years ago. Sunday, I stayed home, watched football, did laundry, meal prepped for the week, normal weekend activities. But in between folding clothes and chopping vegetables, I was also refining my plan. I'd gathered information, I'd confirmed patterns. I'd given Emily an opportunity to handle this with some dignity. Now it was time to move forward. Not with anger, not with drama, with precision. Monday morning, I went to work early. Stopped by my office, picked up some paperwork, then drove to one of my properties. The same medical building that shared a parking lot with the fitness center where I'd first seen Emily and Trevor meet. I parked in my usual spot, went inside, handled some routine maintenance checks. Everything normal, everything above board. While I was there, I happened to notice that the fitness center had exterior security cameras covering their parking lot. the same parking lot where Trevor's black Audi and Emily's silver Accord had been parked next to each other multiple times. I made a note. Just information. Just patterns. Just pieces of a larger system that was about to break in very specific, very controlled ways. Tuesday morning started differently. I woke up early, earlier than usual, 5 a.m. The house was dark and quiet. I made coffee, sat at the kitchen table, and composed a message on my phone. Not to Emily, not to Trevor, to myself. Just a simple note, laying out what I was about to do and why. A moment of clarity before the next phase began. I typed it out, read it through twice, then deleted it. I didn't need a record. I needed commitment. At 7 a.m., I drove to Trevor's neighborhood. Not to his house. I parked 2 streets over, at a small community park with a playground and walking trail. The kind of place where someone sitting in a truck with coffee wouldn't attract attention. From there, I could see the route Trevor would take to leave his subdivision. At 7:42 a.m., the black Audi drove past. Trevor, alone, heading to work. Same as every Tuesday. I waited 5 more minutes, then drove to his house. The minivan was still in the driveway. Jessica was home, probably getting kids ready for school, making breakfast, doing the normal morning routine. I parked across the street, took out my phone, and sent a text to the number I'd found listed for their home in the online directory. Simple message. Your husband's car has a broken taillight. Thought you'd want to know before he gets pulled over. I watched the house. 3 minutes later, Jessica came out the front door, walked to the Audi parked in the driveway, Trevor's second car, the one he didn't drive to work, and checked the taillights. Both were fine, of course. She looked confused, checked her phone again, looked up and down the street. I pulled away before she could notice my truck. It was a small thing. Insignificant, really. Just a wrong number text about a non-existent problem. But now Jessica was thinking about her husband's car, paying attention to it, wondering who would have texted her about it. Seeds of awareness. I drove to work, settled into my normal routine. Maintenance schedules, vendor calls, property inspections. Danny asked if I wanted to grab lunch. I said sure. We went to a sandwich place, talked about the upcoming football season, complained about the city's permit process for commercial renovations. Normal day. Except at 11:47 a.m., while Danny was talking about his fantasy football draft strategy, I got a text from an unknown number. Stop whatever you're doing. We need to talk. This is Trevor. Different number than the one he'd used last week. Probably a work phone. I set my phone down, kept listening to Danny's explanation of why he was planning to draft 3 running backs in the first 5 rounds. The phone buzzed again. I'm serious. This affects both of us. I took a bite of my sandwich. Another buzz. If you don't respond, I'll come to your house. I picked up my phone, typed, I'll be home at 6. Front door will be unlocked. Then I blocked that number too. Danny noticed my expression. Everything okay? Yeah, just dealing with a persistent vendor. We finished lunch, went back to work. At 4:30 p.m., I left the office early. Stopped at a hardware store, bought a motion-activated outdoor camera, the kind that connects to your phone, records to cloud storage, has night vision and 2-way audio. Consumer-grade security equipment, nothing fancy. I installed it above my front door, angled to capture the porch and driveway, tested it with the app on my phone. Clear picture, good audio, everything recording properly. Then I went inside, unlocked the front door like I'd promised, and waited. Trevor arrived at 6:23 p.m. I watched him on the camera feed as he pulled up, sat in his car for a moment gathering his courage, then walked to the front door. He knocked, even though I'd said it would be unlocked. I opened it. He was taller than I'd realized, probably 6'2", good shape, expensive clothes, the kind of guy who looked like he belonged in a boardroom or a country club. He had that polished confidence, but I could see the stress underneath it. Tension around his eyes, jaw clenched too tight. Thanks for seeing me, he said. I stepped aside, let him in, closed the door behind him. He stood in my living room, looking around like he was cataloging everything, taking in details, the wedding photos on the wall, the furniture Emily had picked out, the life he'd been interfering with for 7 weeks. Want something to drink? I asked. No, I want to understand what you're trying to accomplish. I sat down on the couch. Didn't invite him to sit. I'm not trying to accomplish anything. The text to my wife. I texted a stranger about a broken taillight. Wrong number. Happens all the time. His jaw tightened. Don't play games. I know it was you. Can you prove that? He stared at me for a long moment. What do you want? I don't want anything from you, Trevor. Then why? He stopped, regrouped. When he spoke again, his voice was more controlled. Look, I know you're angry. You have every right to be. What happened between Emily and me was wrong, but destroying my marriage won't fix yours. I'm not trying to destroy your marriage. Then what was the text about? I told you. Wrong number. He took a step closer. Not threatening exactly, but testing boundaries. Emily said you're not being rational about this, that you're acting strange. Emily would know about acting strange. She's been pretending to take fitness classes for 7 weeks. She feels terrible about that. Does she? I leaned back, crossed my arms. Is that why she's staying at her sister's house instead of trying to fix this? Trevor looked uncomfortable. She's processing. You ambushed her with that text. I made a joke about asking him about photos. She sent 12 panic messages. That's not an ambush. That's a confession. He ran a hand through his hair, frustration breaking through the polished exterior. What do you want me to say? Yes, we've been seeing each other. Yes, it was wrong. But it happened. We can't undo it. The question is what happens next. What do you think should happen next? I think we should all handle this like adults. Emily and I will end things. You and Emily can work on your marriage or not. That's between you two. Jessica doesn't need to know. Nobody else needs to get hurt. I looked at him for a long time, studied his face, his body language, the way he was standing in my living room asking me to protect his secret while he'd been meeting my wife in hotel rooms every Tuesday and Thursday. You're afraid, I said. What? You're afraid of what happens if Jessica finds out. Afraid of what happens to your reputation, your job, your comfortable suburban life with the swing set and the soccer games. His face hardened. That's not fair. Fair? I stood up slowly. You want to talk about fair? You've been meeting my wife at a hotel while your wife teaches music to elementary school kids. You've been lying to everyone in your life. But you think I'm being unfair by not promising to keep your secret? I didn't come here to fight. Then why did you come here? He was silent for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice was quieter. To ask you not to destroy my family. My kids don't deserve this. You're right, I said. They don't. Neither do you or Jessica or Emily or me. None of us deserved what you and Emily decided to do, but here we are. So what? You're going to tell Jessica out of spite? I haven't decided what I'm going to do. That's not good enough. I moved closer to him. Not threatening, just closing the distance. You came to my house uninvited. You stood in my living room asking me to protect you from the consequences of your own choices. And now you're telling me what is and isn't good enough? He took a step back. You're trying to control the situation. I understand. That's what you do. Regional director, right? You manage territories, coordinate strategies, solve problems. But this isn't a business problem you can solve with a meeting and a compromise. Then what is it? It's a simple equation. Actions have consequences. You and Emily made your choices. Now everyone else gets to make theirs. Trevor's hands clenched into fists. Not to hit me, he wasn't that stupid, but out of frustration. You're enjoying this. No, I said honestly. I'm not enjoying any of this. But I'm also not going to make it easier for you. He stood there, breathing hard, clearly wrestling with whether to say more or cut his losses and leave. Finally, he headed for the door, stopped with his hand on the knob. If you tell Jessica, he said, voice low, you'll regret it. I smiled, not friendly. Is that a threat? It's a warning. You think you're in control here, but you're not. You do something to my family. I'll make sure Emily knows exactly what kind of person you really are. And what kind of person is that? He turned to look at me. The kind who would rather burn everything down than try to save it. I held his gaze. Maybe. Or maybe I'm just the kind of person who thinks the truth matters more than your comfort. He left without another word. I stood in my living room, listening to his car start, listening to him drive away. Then I pulled out my phone, checked the camera footage, perfect audio and video of the entire conversation. His threat crystal clear. I saved the footage to 3 different locations. Then I sat down and thought about what came next. Trevor had shown his hand. He was scared, desperate, willing to make threats. That meant he understood how much he had to lose. Good. Fear makes people sloppy, makes them react instead of think, makes them create more evidence. I just needed to wait for him to make his next mistake. Wednesday, I went to work. Normal day, normal routine. Except I also drove past Trevor's office building during lunch. Saw his black Audi in the reserved parking section. Noted that his company had security cameras in the parking lot. More patterns, more information. Thursday, I didn't follow Emily and Trevor to the hotel. Didn't need to. They were predictable. Instead, I went to my office and made a phone call. Facilities management. This is Anderson Consulting. How can I help you? Hi, I'm calling from Premier Medical Equipment. We're reviewing our vendor relationships, and I wanted to verify some professional references. Do you work with Trevor Hastings? Let me check. No, that name doesn't come up in our system. Is he supposed to be a vendor? He's a regional director. I'm verifying his employment history. Oh, you'd want HR for that, but I can tell you we don't have any current contracts with Premier Medical. Got it. Thanks for your time. I hung up, made 3 more similar calls to different companies, building a timeline of Trevor's professional relationships, mapping who he worked with, who might care about a regional director having an affair with a competitor's sales rep, information, patterns, leverage points. Friday evening, I got a text from Emily. Can we please talk? I miss you. I miss us. I looked at that message for a long time, thought about 7 weeks of lies, about hotel rooms and fake fitness classes, about the way she'd panicked when I made a joke about photos, about the way she'd walked out of the coffee shop rather than take actual responsibility. I texted back, I'm not ready yet. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, when will you be ready? I don't know. The dots appeared 1 more time, then stopped. No more messages. Saturday, I installed a second camera, this one at the back of my property angled toward the fence line. Same model as the front door camera, same cloud recording. My house was now fully monitored. Sunday, I did something different. I drove to the hotel where Emily and Trevor had been meeting, walked into the lobby. The same young clerk was working the front desk. Hey, I said, friendly smile in place. I was here last week asking about corporate rates. I wanted to follow up. He looked up, recognized me. Oh yeah. Did you get the information you needed? Most of it. But I had one more question. If we book a block of rooms, is there any flexibility on the rates for extended stays? Probably. You'd really need to talk to the manager for that. Right. Is she here today? He. And no, he's off until Tuesday. No problem. I'll call then. I started to leave, then turned back. Oh, one more thing. Those security cameras you mentioned, do they cover the parking lot too, or just interior corridors? He hesitated. Both, I think. Why? Just wondering about vehicle security. We've had some clients concerned about break-ins. Yeah, we've got cameras on the parking lot. Haven't had any issues, though. Good to know. Thanks. I left. Drove home. Sat in my driveway for a moment, thinking about camera angles and parking lot footage and electronic keycard records, thinking about how much documentation existed of an affair that was supposed to be secret, thinking about how much control Trevor thought he had versus how much control he actually had. Then I went inside, made dinner, spent the evening reading. Normal Sunday evening, except nothing was normal anymore. The system was breaking. I just needed to apply pressure in the right places. Monday morning, I found out Trevor had made his next mistake. I was at my office reviewing maintenance reports when I got a call from my assistant supervisor, Danny. Hey, weird question, he said. Did you talk to anyone from Premier Medical Equipment recently? I sat up straighter. Why? Because someone from their HR department called here asking about you. Wanted to verify your employment, how long you'd been here, whether you had access to confidential client information. I told them we're a property management company. We don't have clients in that sense. They seemed confused. What name did they give? Didn't catch a first name. Said they were calling on behalf of Trevor Hastings, conducting a routine background check. I smiled, couldn't help it. What did you tell them? Just the basics. You've been here 15 years, you're a facilities manager, you handle commercial properties. I asked why they were calling, and they said it was just standard verification. Seemed weird, though. Thanks for the heads up. I hung up and sat back in my chair. Trevor was checking up on me, trying to find leverage, trying to see if I had any professional vulnerabilities he could exploit. Workplace complaints, financial problems, anything he could use to threaten me or discredit me if things escalated. He'd found nothing because there was nothing to find. But he'd also just created a paper trail, an HR department call, logged and documented, connecting him to me for no legitimate business reason. Sloppy. I pulled out my phone and sent a text to Emily. Did Trevor ask you about my job? 3 dots appeared almost immediately. Why? Simple question. Did he? Longer pause this time. He was worried. He wanted to make sure you weren't going to do anything crazy. Like what? I don't know. Show up at his office or something. I typed back. I'm not the one who's been lying for 7 weeks. I'm not the one who needs to worry about doing something crazy. No response. I put my phone away and got back to work. That evening, I drove to Jessica's elementary school. Not inside. I parked across the street and waited. At 5:15 p.m., she came out with another teacher, both of them carrying instrument cases. They talked for a few minutes in the parking lot, laughing about something. Jessica looked happy, relaxed, normal. She had no idea her husband was having HR departments run background checks on the husband of the woman he was seeing in hotels every Tuesday and Thursday. I watched her drive away in her minivan, heading home to her kids and her swing set and her carefully maintained suburban life. Then I drove home too. Tuesday, I broke pattern. Instead of following Emily and Trevor or monitoring the hotel, I stayed at work. Caught up on paperwork, returned vendor calls, reviewed proposals. Completely normal day. At 2:30 p.m., my phone buzzed. Text from Emily. "We need to talk. Tonight." I waited an hour before responding. "I'm busy tonight. This is important. So is my schedule. Please, it's about Trevor." Now we were getting somewhere. "What about him?" "He's getting paranoid. He thinks you're planning something." "I'm not planning anything. I'm working." "He said you put cameras on your house." I paused, looked at that message. Trevor had been watching my house, had seen the new cameras, was escalating from background checks to surveillance. "It's my house," I typed back. "I can install cameras if I want." "He thinks you're recording things to use against him." "Against him? I've talked to him once for less than 10 minutes. If he's paranoid, that's his problem." "He's talking about getting a lawyer." "For what? I haven't done anything to him." The 3 dots appeared and disappeared several times. Finally, "Can we please just meet and talk about this like adults?" I thought about it, about what Trevor was revealing through Emily, about how his fear was making him take actions that created more documentation, more evidence, more ways for this to spiral beyond his control. "Friday," I texted. 7 p.m., that coffee shop on 5th Street. "Thank you." I put my phone down and smiled. Trevor was panicking, running background checks, watching my house, talking about lawyers, all because I'd installed security cameras on my own property and refused to promise I'd keep his secret. He was creating his own pressure. I barely had to do anything. Wednesday, I went to work early, left late, completely absorbed in legitimate property management work. Didn't think about Emily or Trevor or any of it. Or at least, that's what anyone watching would think. In reality, I was letting time work for me. Every day that passed was another day of documented pattern behavior. The hotel meetings, the phone records, the lying. Every day Trevor stayed paranoid was another day he might do something stupid. Thursday afternoon, he did. I was at one of my properties doing a routine inspection when I got a call from an unknown number. Not the same ones Trevor had used before. A new one, I answered. "This is a courtesy call," a man's voice said. Professional, clipped, not Trevor. "My client has asked me to inform you that any further harassment or contact with his family will result in legal action." "Who is your client?" "I'm not at liberty to say, but I think you know who I'm referring to." "And who are you?" "An attorney representing his interests." "Then you should know that I haven't contacted your client or his family. I installed security cameras on my own property. I had one conversation with him when he came to my house uninvited. That's not harassment." Silence on the other end. "Furthermore," I continued, "if your client is so concerned about legal action, he should probably consider the implications of conducting unauthorized background checks on a private citizen or having his attorney make threatening phone calls based on zero actual evidence of wrongdoing." More silence. "I would advise you to stop whatever you're planning," the attorney finally said. "I'm not planning anything, but I'd advise your client to be very careful about what accusations he makes or actions he takes. Because if this does end up in any kind of legal proceeding, documentation matters. And right now, the only person creating a documented pattern of harassment is him." I hung up, sat in my truck for a moment thinking. Trevor had hired an attorney, had them make a threatening call. Over what? Security cameras and a refusal to keep secrets? He was spiraling, fast, and every action he took made everything worse for him. I drove back to my office, sent an email to my own email account documenting the phone call, the number it came from, the time, and exactly what was said. Created a timestamp, a record. Then I called a lawyer I'd worked with before on property disputes. Left a message asking for a consultation about potential harassment and unauthorized background checks. I wasn't going to sue Trevor, but he didn't know that. And the fact that I was creating legal documentation while he was making threatening phone calls through attorneys would look very different if this ever got in front of anyone official. Friday morning, I got another text from Emily. Trevor's lawyer called you. I told him not to do that. I'm sorry. Why did he think he needed a lawyer? He's scared. He thinks you're trying to destroy his life. I haven't done anything to him. The cameras, the way you've been acting. He thinks you're building a case. A case for what? I don't know. He's not making sense anymore. I read that message 3 times. He's not making sense anymore. Emily was starting to see it, starting to realize that Trevor wasn't the confident, controlled person she'd thought he was, that under pressure, he was reactive, paranoid, making mistakes. What do you think I should do? I texted back. Long pause. I think we should all take a step back. Let things calm down. I've been calm this whole time, Emily. I'm not the one hiring lawyers or running background checks or making threatening phone calls. I know. I'm sorry. This got out of control. It was already out of control. You just didn't realize it yet. No response to that. At 7 p.m., I went to the coffee shop. Emily was already there, sitting at a corner table, looking exhausted. She'd lost weight, had dark circles under her eyes. I sat down across from her. Thank you for coming, she said. You asked me to. Trevor didn't want me to meet with you. He thinks you're manipulating me. Am I? I don't know anymore. She looked down at her coffee cup. I don't know anything anymore. You know what you did. Yes, I know that. And I've apologized. I've said I'll end it. But you won't talk to me, you won't tell me what you're thinking. You just watch. And wait. And it's driving everyone crazy. Everyone? Me. Trevor. Even his wife is starting to ask questions because you sent that text about the taillight. I told you that was a wrong number, I know, but she doesn't believe that anymore. She's been watching him, noticing things. She asked him why he's been so stressed lately. I leaned back. And what did he tell her? Work stuff. Client issues. She didn't push it, but she's paying attention now. Good. Emily looked up sharply. Good? You think it's good that his marriage might fall apart? I think it's good that someone's finally paying attention to the truth. This isn't about truth. This is about you wanting everyone to be as miserable as you are. I met her eyes. I'm not miserable, Emily. I'm clear. For the first time in months, maybe years, I'm actually seeing things clearly. What does that mean? It means I know exactly who you are now, who Trevor is, who I am, and I'm okay with it. She looked confused. Okay with it? How can you be okay with any of this? Because I'm not pretending anymore. I'm not making excuses or telling myself stories about how things will get better. I'm just accepting reality. And what reality is that? That you chose to lie to me for 7 weeks. That Trevor chose to risk his marriage for hotel rooms on Tuesday and Thursday afternoons. That both of you made calculations about what you wanted versus what you might lose, and you decided the risk was worth it. We didn't. You did. You absolutely did. Every time you texted me that you were at the gym, every time you packed that yoga mat you never used, every time Trevor kissed his wife goodbye and drove to meet you, those were choices. Calculated choices. Emily's hands were shaking. So what? You're just going to punish us forever? I'm not punishing anyone. I'm just not protecting you from the consequences anymore. What does that mean? I stood up. It means I'm done with this conversation. Wait. You wanted to talk? We talked. You wanted me to tell you what I'm thinking. I did. Now you know. I walked out. Left her sitting there with her coffee and her confusion and her realization that I wasn't going to make this easy. That night, I sat at home and thought about the next phase. Trevor was panicking, making mistakes, creating documentation. Emily was starting to question whether Trevor was worth the damage. Jessica was noticing her husband's stress, paying attention to patterns. The system was breaking in exactly the ways I'd anticipated. I just needed one more push, one more pressure point, and I knew exactly what it was. Saturday morning, I did something I'd been planning for 2 weeks. I printed out a timeline, not a complex one, just a simple spreadsheet with dates and locations. Tuesdays and Thursdays, 11:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. for the past 7 weeks. The hotel address. A note about the security cameras in the parking lot. Another note about the electronic keycard access logs. No accusations, no inflammatory language, just data. I put it in an envelope. Then I drove to Jessica Hastings Elementary School. It was Saturday, so the building was closed, but I knew from her social media that she volunteered there most Saturday mornings for library setup. Her minivan was in the parking lot. I parked, got out, walked to the main entrance. Locked. But there was a staff entrance on the side with an intercom. I pressed the button. A woman's voice came through after a moment. Can I help you? Hi, I'm looking for Jessica Hastings. I have something for her. One moment, I waited. 2 minutes later, Jessica came to the door. She was wearing jeans and a school t-shirt, hair pulled back, looking exactly like her social media photos. Friendly, open expression. "Can I help you?" she asked through the glass. I held up the envelope. "I'm sorry to bother you on a Saturday. This is going to sound strange, but I have some information I think you should see." Her expression shifted, wariness replacing friendliness. "What kind of information?" "It's about your husband." She opened the door slightly. "Who are you?" "My name's irrelevant, but my wife has been seeing Trevor on Tuesday and Thursday afternoons for the past 7 weeks, at the hotel on Riverside Drive. This envelope has the documentation, dates, times, locations. There are security cameras at the hotel that can verify everything." Her face went pale. "I'm sorry," I said. "I really am. But I thought you deserved to know." I held out the envelope. She didn't take it. "Why are you doing this?" she asked. "Because someone should have told me weeks ago, and they didn't. I'm trying to be better than that." She looked at the envelope like it might burn her. "What do you want?" "Nothing. I'm just telling you the truth. What you do with it is up to you." I set the envelope on the ground in front of the door, stepped back. "The hotel keeps records for 30 to 60 days, I said. "Keycard access, camera footage. If you want proof beyond what's in there, their manager's name is on the business card I included." Jessica still hadn't moved, just stood there, looking at me like I was something incomprehensible. "I'm sorry," I said again, and I meant it. Then I walked back to my truck and drove away. I didn't feel good about it, didn't feel victorious or satisfied. I felt like I just pushed over the first domino in a line that was going to knock down everything, but it was too late to stop it now. Sunday was quiet. I stayed home, did housework, watched football. My phone stayed silent. Monday morning, everything changed. I was at my office when Danny knocked on my door. "You've got a visitor in the lobby. Says it's personal." I went out to find Jessica Hastings standing there. She looked like she hadn't slept. Eyes red, hands clutching her purse like it was the only stable thing in her world. "Can we talk?" she asked. I led her to a small conference room, closed the door. She sat down, pulled out the envelope I'd given her. I looked at everything. Then I checked our phone records, our credit card statements. I found charges at that hotel on the same days you listed. "I'm sorry." "Don't apologize. Just tell me, is your wife the only one?" I paused. "The only one I know about." She nodded slowly. "How did you find out?" "I noticed patterns, inconsistencies. I work in facilities management. It's my job to notice when things don't add up." "And you followed them?" "I verified. There's a difference." She looked at the papers spread in front of her. "He told me this morning that he's been under stress at work, that a competitor has been harassing him, trying to damage his reputation. He said if I heard anything strange about him, it was lies from someone with an agenda." "I don't have an agenda. I just wanted you to know the truth." "Why? We don't know each other." "Because my wife lied to me for 7 weeks. Every time I think about all the moments I could have known, should have known, and didn't, it makes me angry. Not at myself, at the people who knew and said nothing. I didn't want to be one of those people." Jessica was quiet for a long moment. "What are you going to do? About your marriage?" "I don't know yet." "Trevor thinks you're trying to destroy him. Trevor is trying to protect himself from the consequences of his own choices. There's a difference." She stood up, gathered the papers. "Thank you for telling me. I mean that. What are you going to do?" "I don't know yet either." She headed for the door, stopped. "He hired a lawyer, to threaten you, to scare you into staying quiet." "I know." "That's when I started to believe something was really wrong. When he started acting like someone who had something to hide." She opened the door. "Goodbye." She left. I sat in the conference room for a while, thinking about the look on her face, about the way her hands had been shaking, about how her entire world had just shifted under her feet. Then I went back to work. Tuesday morning, Emily called me. Not texted, actually called. "What did you do?" She was crying. "What did you do?" I told the truth. "You told Trevor's wife. You gave her a timeline. You ruined everything." "I gave her information. What she does with it is her decision." She called him last night, confronted him. He had to tell her everything. Now she's taking the kids to her parents' house. She's talking about divorce. That's between them. How can you be so cold? You just destroyed a family. "I didn't destroy anything, Emily. Trevor did that when he decided hotel rooms were more important than his marriage." "He's threatening to sue you for harassment. for intentional infliction of emotional distress. He can try, but all I did was tell someone the truth about what their spouse was doing. That's not illegal. And if he wants to argue in court that telling someone about an affair is harassment, he's going to have to admit to the affair in a legal filing. Silence on the other end. You planned this, she finally said. All of it. The cameras, the timeline. You wanted this to happen. I wanted the truth to matter, that's all. I can't believe you. I actually thought we might work this out, that we might find a way through this. Did you really think that? Or did you just hope I'd stay quiet long enough for you to decide what you wanted? She hung up. I sat there with the dead phone in my hand, feeling nothing. No satisfaction, no regret. Just a strange, hollow clarity. Wednesday, Trevor showed up at my office. He walked past reception, past Danny's attempt to stop him, straight to my door, threw it open. I looked up from my computer. You should probably leave. You piece of... He stopped himself, breathing hard. You had no right. I had every right. She's your wife. She deserved to know. You destroyed my family. My kids are asking why their mother's crying, why we're not all living together anymore. You did that. I stood up slowly. No, you did that. Every Tuesday and Thursday for 7 weeks. Every lie you told. Every risk you took. Those were your choices. I'm going to bury you, legally, professionally, every way I can. With what? I told your wife the truth. I have documentation. I have witness statements. I have her own credit card records backing up everything I said. What exactly are you going to sue me for? He stepped closer. You think you're so smart? You think you've won something, but all you've done is prove that you're a vindictive, petty... I'm going to stop you right there, I said, voice level. You're in my office, uninvited, making threats. And I have security cameras that are recording this entire conversation, so I'd suggest you be very careful about what you say next. He looked around, saw the camera in the corner I'd had installed last month. Standard office security. His face changed, rage giving way to something colder. This isn't over, he said. Yes, it is. You just don't realize it yet. He left. I sat back down, checked the camera footage on my computer. Clear video and audio of the entire exchange. Saved it. Backed it up. Added it to the growing file of documentation. Thursday, I got a certified letter from Trevor's attorney. Formal cease and desist, demanding I stop all contact with Trevor and his family. Threatening legal action for harassment and emotional distress. I took it to my own attorney. Showed him everything. The timeline, the hotel information, the phone records, the camera footage of Trevor's visits to my house and office. He read through it all, looked up at me. You didn't do anything illegal. I know. But you knew this would cause exactly this kind of chaos. I knew the truth would have consequences. That's not the same thing as causing chaos. He leaned back in his chair. Do you want me to respond to this cease and desist? Only if they actually file something. Otherwise, let it sit. And if they do file, then we show a judge that the only harassment has been coming from their side. The background checks, the threatening phone calls, the uninvited visits, all documented. He nodded slowly. You've been thorough. I pay attention to details. Friday evening, Emily came to the house, used her key, walked in while I was making dinner. She looked terrible, exhausted, defeated. Can we talk? She asked. I turned off the stove. Sure. We sat in the living room, the same room where I'd talked to Trevor 3 weeks ago, where this had all started accelerating. Trevor's wife filed for divorce, Emily said. She's asking for full custody. He's probably going to lose his job. There's an ethics investigation at his company. Okay. That's it? Just okay? What do you want me to say? I want you to acknowledge what you've done, the damage you've caused. I told the truth, Emily, that's all. Everything else, the divorce, the custody fight, the ethics investigation, those are consequences of what you and Trevor chose to do. We made a mistake. You made a choice. For 7 weeks. That's not a mistake. That's a pattern. She wiped her eyes. So what now? You just watch everything burn? I'm not watching anything burn. I'm just not putting out fires that other people started. I don't even know you anymore. I looked at her, really looked at her, at the woman I'd married 11 years ago, who'd stood in front of our friends and family and promised things she apparently hadn't meant. Yeah, I said. I don't think you ever did. She stood up. I'm filing for divorce too. I can't do this anymore. Okay. That's all you're going to say? After 11 years? What do you want me to say? That I'll fight for us? That I'll pretend the last 7 weeks didn't happen? That I'll help you rewrite this into a story where we're both somehow innocent? I want you to feel something. I feel plenty. I'm just not interested in performing it for you. She walked to the door, stopped. Trevor was right about you. What did he say? That you'd rather burn everything down than try to save it. He's wrong. I didn't burn anything. I just stopped lying about the smoke. She left. The house was quiet again. I went back to the kitchen, finished making dinner, ate alone. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. I almost deleted it, but something made me check. It was Jessica. I wanted you to know. I'm filing for divorce, and I'm pressing the ethics complaint at his company. You were right. The truth matters. Thank you. I read that message 3 times. Then I typed back, I'm sorry for what you're going through, but I'm glad you know. She didn't respond. I sat there with my phone, with my quiet house, with everything that had happened in the past 3 weeks. Trevor had lost his marriage, was losing his job, was facing custody battles. Emily was filing for divorce, had destroyed her own affair, was dealing with the fallout. Jessica was starting over, protecting her children, taking control of her life. And me, I was exactly where I'd been 3 weeks ago. Same house, same job, same routine, except now I knew exactly who everyone was, and I was okay with that. Monday morning started with a phone call from Trevor's attorney. My client would like to propose a settlement, he said. Professional tone, but I could hear the defeat underneath it. He's willing to drop all legal threats if you agree to certain terms. What terms? No further contact with his ex-wife. No discussion of this matter with his employer. A mutual non-disparagement agreement. Non-disparagement? He came to my office and threatened me. He hired someone to run background checks on me. He sent you to make threatening calls, and now he wants me to agree not to talk about it? Silence. My client is going through a difficult time. He's lost his marriage. His job is in jeopardy because of his own choices. Regardless, he's willing to let the legal matter drop if you agree to the terms. Tell your client I don't need his permission to drop something he never had grounds to file in the first place, and I'll talk to whoever I want about whatever I want, as long as I'm telling the truth. If that's a problem for him, that's not my concern. I hung up, sat at my desk for a moment, thinking about Trevor trying to negotiate his way out of consequences even now, trying to control the narrative, trying to make deals. Some people never learn. Tuesday afternoon, I got a text from Emily. I signed the divorce papers. My lawyer will send them to you. I looked at that message, thought about 11 years of marriage ending in a text message. Typed back, okay. She responded immediately. That's it? That's all you have to say? What else is there? I don't know. Something, anything, some acknowledgement that this mattered. I sat there for a long time, phone in hand, thinking about what to say. I finally typed, it mattered, past tense. No response. Wednesday, Danny knocked on my office door. Someone's here to see you, says it's important. I went to the lobby expecting another confrontation. Instead, it was Jessica. She looked different, stronger somehow, like she'd found something solid to stand on. I wanted to tell you in person, she said. The ethics investigation at Trevor's company concluded. They terminated him. Conflict of interest with a competitor's sales representative. Your wife. Ex-wife. Soon. Right. Anyway, I wanted you to know because I know he's been threatening you. But he doesn't have any leverage anymore. No job, no credibility. His own attorney is probably going to drop him when the retainer runs out. How are your kids? She smiled, small but genuine. Confused, hurt, but they're resilient, and they'll be better off knowing the truth than growing up in a house full of lies. I'm glad you think so. Some people would disagree. Some people would rather be comfortable than honest. She adjusted her purse. I should go. I just wanted to say thank you, and to tell you that you did the right thing, even though it was hard. It wasn't hard. It was just necessary. She studied me for a moment. Trevor said you were cold, calculating, but I think you're just clear about what matters. Truth matters. Everything else is negotiable. She nodded. Take care of yourself. After she left, I went back to my office and thought about that conversation, about how Jessica had thanked me for destroying her marriage, about how she'd called it the right thing even though it had hurt, about how sometimes the truth does matter more than comfort. Thursday evening, Emily showed up at the house one last time. I was in the garage organizing tools when she pulled into the driveway. She got out slowly, like she wasn't sure she should be there. I came to get the last of my things, she said. They're in the bedroom. I boxed everything up. She went inside. I heard her moving around, opening closets, gathering the final pieces of a life we'd built together. When she came back out, carrying 2 boxes, she stopped in the garage doorway. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Sure." "Did you ever love me? Really love me?" I set down the wrench I'd been holding. "Yes, for a long time." "When did that stop?" "Probably around the time you started packing a yoga mat you never used and lying about where you were spending your Tuesday and Thursday afternoons." She flinched. "I didn't mean for any of this to happen." "Yes, you did. Every choice you made was intentional. Meeting him, going to that hotel, lying to me. You meant all of it. You just didn't mean to get caught. That's not fair." "It's accurate. There's a difference." She shifted the boxes in her arms. "Trevor lost everything because of you. His marriage, his job, his kids. Trevor lost everything because of Trevor. I just made sure his wife knew what was happening. You knew it would destroy him. I knew the truth would have consequences. I didn't know exactly what they'd be, but I also didn't care enough to hide it just to protect him." She looked at me like I was a stranger. "What happened to you? You used to be kind." "I'm still kind, just not to people who spend 7 weeks lying to my face." She walked to her car, loaded the boxes, stood there with her hand on the door handle. "I hope you're happy," she said, "alone in this house with your cameras and your evidence and your need to be right about everything." "I don't need to be right about everything, just about this." She got in her car and drove away. I watched her taillights disappear around the corner. Then I went back to organizing my tools. Friday morning, I was at my office when I got an email from an address I didn't recognize. Subject line, "Thank you." I opened it cautiously. It was from a woman named Melissa, the receptionist at Trevor's former company. She'd heard about the ethics investigation, about why Trevor had been terminated. She wanted me to know that she'd suspected something was going on for months, but hadn't known how to address it. That several other employees had noticed Trevor's suspicious schedule, his secretive behavior. "Everyone knew something was wrong," she wrote, "but nobody wanted to be the one to say anything. Thank you for having the courage to tell the truth, even when it was uncomfortable." I read that email 3 times, then I deleted it. I didn't need thanks, didn't want to be seen as courageous or righteous. I just told the truth because the alternative was being complicit in lies. That weekend, I stayed home, fixed the deck railing that had been loose for months, repainted the bathroom, reorganized the basement, all the projects Emily had wanted done that I'd been putting off. Sunday evening, I sat on the back deck with a beer, watching the sunset. My phone buzzed. Text from Danny. "Hey, saw you've been working through some personal stuff. Just wanted to check in. You good?" I smiled. Typed back, "Yeah, I'm good." And I was. Monday morning, exactly 4 weeks after I'd sent that text about asking him if his wife liked the photos, I sat in my office and took stock. Trevor had lost his job, his marriage, custody of his kids, was facing an uncertain future with a damaged professional reputation. Emily had lost her marriage, was dealing with the social fallout of an exposed affair, was trying to rebuild her life. Jessica had found her strength, filed for divorce, was protecting her children and moving forward. And me? I still had my job, still had my house, still had my clarity about what had happened and why. I'd been called cold, calculating, vindictive, cruel. Maybe I was some of those things. But I'd also been honest, and in a situation built entirely on lies that counted for something. Tuesday morning, I was doing a routine inspection at one of my properties when I saw a familiar car in the parking lot, Trevor's black Audi. He was sitting behind the wheel, watching me. I walked over, stopped a few feet from his car.